genetically more similar to humans than nearly any other mammal? But what does that mean for cats and research? My interview partner today is Dr. Leslie Lyons, who is the Gilbreath-McLorn Endowed Professor of Comparative Medicine at the University of Missouri. One of her recent works demonstrated precision medicine in domestic cats, and that's what we'll be talking about today. Hi, Dr. Lyons. I'm so happy that you're here today. So how are you doing?
I'm just another fantastic day here in Missouri. I'm doing well and most pleased to be joining you today.
Thank you. Yes. So tell me, I mean, you have conducted some groundbreaking research, but first, who is that American curl feline friend that you have in the picture you sent me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I've had a research colony of cats for a long time, and that colony has primarily helped us identify the genes for retinal degeneration in Persian cats, and to also develop a nutritional therapeutic for polycystic kidney disease in cats. But along the way, we wanted to keep our population diverse and not inbred, so not have the same problems that we see in some of our cat breeds, right? So I then said, well, let's bring in some diverse cats. Well, why not bring in diverse cats that have interesting traits? As we develop our pedigree of these cats, we could then maybe find the genes for these traits. So at one point in time, we brought in an American curl and continued to breed that cat and that cat's offspring. And that was one of the offspring of a pedigreed American curl. And so we've had curled-eared cats in the pedigree for quite a long time.
Aw, what's her name?
That cat's name, that's the little black and white one. I think that was Betty. Okay. And we often pick the names based on. I would let the students pick the names. So undergraduate students pick the names, and they would find a theme of what was popular at the time. And like we have a whole set of Harry Potter cats. And and then we have a whole set of cats named after constellations, and so the students would pick the names.
Do you have a Nibiru? Constellations. I'm just thinking of.
No. We kind of had Orion and Cassiopeia and Aries and a few other ones. Yeah.
Nice, awesome. So, where are you in the world?
Yeah, I am located at the University of Missouri, which is in Columbia, Missouri. It's right kind of almost smack dab in the middle of Missouri. And Missouri is close to being smack dab in the middle of the United States. Yes. So we're kind of in the middle of it all here.
Okay, and it's cold.
Well, it's not as bad as when you think of Nebraska and Iowa. We don't get that type of snow, and we also don't get those type of tornadoes either. So It's kind of a very nice, calm environment.
I like that. Yeah. So tell me, Dr. Lyons, what are you up to? What is the Lyons Den, and what is precision medicine in cats?
Yeah. Well, first off, the Lyons Den got named by my father. And he used to pick up the telephone back in the day when you had a household telephone, and he would answer Lyons Den. And so I adopted that for the lab name as well. And it's really the feline genetics and comparative medicine laboratory here. So we primarily study cats, and that is our deal. And our goal is to bring, precision medicine to cats. So precision medicine means that we use what is internal to the patient, whether it's a human or a cat, their DNA profile. So our DNA is all different between us, and some of us respond well to drugs. Some of us have food allergies and drug allergies, and that is somewhat defined by your genetics. So we are then using the same thing, using the DNA profile of the cat to help decide on their health care. And so it's not as advanced as in humans, but certainly a veterinarian should be able to have a cat come through the door. And if the cat doesn't have an obvious nutritional problem or got hit by a car or something like that, but has a health problem that you think, oh, this is odd. This might be a heritable health problem. Our job is to be able to take blood sample from that cat in the clinic, get a complete genome sequence of the cat from one end of the first chromosome to the end of the last chromosome, and use that information to help us decide what is causing this cat's condition. Now that we know the gene and maybe the DNA variant that causes it, is there a more targeted treatment that is specific for that disease and that gene? So we target the treatment based on your genetics, and that's why it's precise. It's precision medicine.
Wow, that's really cool. So in case, like, let's say a cat breeder is listening to you right now, so you can at some point find out why certain cat breeds are more prone to certain diseases and what you can do about it. This is what you do.
Yeah, that's certainly absolutely what we're hoping to do. And what I think is very important for cat breeders to understand is genetic diseases are fairly rare. And we do have a good handle on knowing what the genetic cause is for a good majority of them in cat breeds. So if cat breeders use genetics to really monitor their breeds, we could probably eradicate genetic disease in cat breeds within the next 5 years, with the exception of maybe HCM, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. That disease is a little more common, so we'd have to eradicate that a little more slowly. This is unique. This is dog breeds would be very hard to do something like this in dog breeds, where cats can be done. And the second point that cat breeders should realize is when they come across a new condition that they find in perhaps their lineage, and before we spread that to the whole breed, we can do the genetics now and identify it. So people should not be fearful of genetics. They can say, boom, let's get on this right now and, prevent it from spreading in the first place. So we can do that so rapidly. We can do it so confidentially and so rapidly that someone might not even know that you had this problem in your lineage in the first place. So it'd be great if breeders just realize that. Don't hide. Let's get it rolling, and we can maybe do it very quickly.
Right. This is like really cool. So if a breeder wants to contact you, like, or like, how does this work now? Like, let's say I'm a breeder and I have a cat and something is not right. So can I contact you?
Absolutely. That's what we do all the time is generally emails. That's generally the way to do it. We do have a Facebook page and, stuff like that, but I don't monitor those. And it's best to have a record of what we're doing. And, so I'm always looking at email and stuff. So still email is our favorite way to communicate. And then we keep that as a lab notebook. It's harder to do with phone stuff and Facebook stuff and things like that. Yeah. And so if they just come forward, and it can start with the breeder, sometimes it starts with the veterinarian. So we have projects all over the world. DNA samples we find a way to get that DNA sample to us. Like in Australia, we send blood samples to Oravet. Oravet isolates the DNA, and then the DNA gets shipped. So there's less problem shipping DNA because that can be done at room temperature. Where if we had to ship the blood, we'd have to do that frozen and dry ice and too much money and import problems. So we have little minions and assorted underlings everywhere that will help us get the job done.
That is really great. I am sure, like at the end of this, I would definitely want to put the email address that you would suggest into the description box. So I'll ask you about this later. But really quick, just to let you know, like I know that breeders are really much into breeding healthy cats, and so I know that because I have like a boy who was bred, and he had a severe heart condition, like actually 3 heart conditions, and so he was like, the breeder wouldn't even go for it. She said, has to be neutered right away. Okay, so I have him as a pet. I've had him now for 13 years. Okay, so he.
Well, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, the most severe murmur you can have, but here he is, living with us and loving the music. So anyway, that's what they do. But this is an easier way and like a faster way of doing this. So I really enjoy what you're saying here because this can be very, very helpful, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's a very good statement to realize that because we have precision medicine, you might, old school was you take your animal to the vet and they might say, well, we don't know what this is. This is bad, spay and neuter. Well, that could be considered actually malpractice now because there are options. And let's explore what's going on. And so, yes, maybe that particular cat we might want to prevent from continuing to breed, but we can certainly look at the lineage in a more effective way now. So, spay and neuter is not always the best answer anymore.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so tell me, okay, so in 2021, there was this, research published, which is groundbreaking, that cats are more genetically, close to humans than even dogs. And before that, it was like dogs and cats, and everybody shares like 96% of the the DNA. But so obviously, so there is some kind of like something in cats that is closer to humans than nearly any other mammal.
Yes.
So and I read about the dark matter in cat genomes. So does that have to do with it? And if so, explain what that means.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we've known actually since we started genetic mapping of cats back in the early 90s or so, that we knew, or actually even before that, when we even could actually just see what chromosomes look like, we knew that the cats were more conserved as far as their chromosome structure. So, on the one hand, yes, most mammals are 85-90% similar to humans at the DNA sequence of their coding genes. Those are very conserved, very consistent across all mammals. But how those genes are put together, their order on a chromosome, how far apart they are, that is very, very conserved between humans and cats. Where our favorite animal model, the mouse, is all rearranged and shuffled around, and dogs are rearranged and shuffled around. And so what we're finding is that when I go and do a DNA search, when I'm going to say, let's find the reason for these American curled ears, right? 40% of the time, I'm going to find it in the easy part, in the coding part of the genome. Well, what about the other 60%? Where is that? That's occurring outside of the genes. And we used to call the outside part of the genes the dark matter. We didn't know what goes on out there. Right. But now we're realizing, the dark matter makes a cat. It turns a gene on, when to turn it on, how long to leave it on, how to modify that gene a little bit. So even though genes are very conserved across species, their regulation is different. And that's what makes us all. So we all have the same genes, but how can we look so different? It's a good part of it's in the dark matter in between the genes. So if now the cat, their gene structure is more similar to humans, that means the regulation is going to be more similar and understandable to humans. So that gives the cat model a great advantage over even the mouse. Yeah.
So that also means that cats will now be used in research settings, I guess, to help with finding out about cat disease, but also human diseases, right? Or,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really why we've kind of embarked. That was part of the initial reasons to embark on cat research, was to as a model for human disease. But I guess I found along my career that I'm just as happy fixing cats for the sake of cats as I am for the sake of humans. So recently with our studies on polycystic kidney disease, we think that work's going to be very beneficial for humans as well. But I would wager that, maybe with our work on genetic mutations and people using those to not breed cats that are going to have health problems, I would wager that maybe we've helped prevent more unhealthy cats being produced in the first place than a veterinarian can cure in their lifetime. So yeah.
That's really good. So tell me, because of the research settings, what will you tell people who are concerned about cats now being treated like rats or mice in those research facilities?
Well, so we always have to be careful with any species. We have the same things to worry about whether we're studying a cat, a dog, or a mouse. We're very cognizant of treating that animal properly and to giving it a good life while it's in the laboratory setting. So there's all kinds of checks and balances. We can't do this just willy-nilly. We have to write up animal protocols, and those protocols go to various members of the university and outside of the university as well. So I have a historian reading my animal protocol, and if they don't like what I'm doing, they're not involved with any my type of science. They're doing their historian type science. If they're uncomfortable, we don't get to do the project. So there's all kind of checks and balances. So, and then always with genetics, really we just need a blood sample. So we haven't really had to do anything invasive in our cats. And then it's kind of always been my rule of maybe 1/3 of your life might be to cat research, and then the other 2/3 we adopt you out, and hopefully you're in a home.
I love that.
So I'd say 90%, over 90% of the cats I've ever worked with have been adopted.
Yes.
And some of the reason why they wouldn't get adopted is they get normal cat health problems that we can't either take care of. The cat does need to have be cared for in some other way, or it's just not a good thing to put on somebody else's shoulders. Here, take care of the cat, right? So we're very, very careful. And I mean, cats, it's nothing new. Cats have been in research for decades and decades. So that's always been true. But for certain, at least in my lifetime as a scientist, we've had to be very careful with how we use the cats, what studies we're allowed to do. And we're very tuned into environmental enrichment and things like that. So my cats have destroyed a couple different cat wheels. We've used those in the past few years, and they just run them to death. And so we keep replacing those.
Yes. And saying that, you are a cat mom to 3 cats yourself, right? You have 3 cats at home.
Yes.
So what made this your mission? Where does this come from? You always wanted to be in research, or what is your,
No, there was no predestiny for cats. People say, "Oh, you were destined to work on cats." Well, it came accidentally. So when I was in high school, I knew I kind of wanted to understand kind of how life worked a little bit, and so I thought I'd become a chemist. And I went to University of Pittsburgh and majored in chemistry and biochemistry. But, Dad wanted me to be a vet and Mom wanted me to be a doctor. So I was doing all the pre-vet and pre-doctor things. And for vet school, not for medical school, but for vet school at Penn, you had to take a genetics class. And once I took that genetics class, it was by a very, very good professor, Harry Corwin. And I was like, this is what I want to do. This is it. And so I wasn't even planning on a PhD. And so then I started, the only other genetics courses at the time at Pitt were at graduate level. So I had to go to the Graduate School of Public Health to get more genetics classes. And then once I got involved with that, I stayed involved and got my master's degree and my PhD at the Graduate School of Public Health at University of Pittsburgh. And then, but I got exposed to people doing comparative genetics.
Yeah.
So doing work into other species. So I knew cattle guys, I knew mouse guys, I knew fish people, and I came down and interviewed at with Steve O'Brien for the cat work. And I chose his lab not because of cats, but because it did evolutionary studies. He was doing evolutionary studies. I wanted to learn about evolution. I brought in the ability to do gene mapping studies, so I brought in a new area into his lab for the cat studies, and then also there was still close ties to human research, and I was a little afraid of kind of losing my contact with human studies. So I was trained in human genetics, not in cat genetics.
Right.
So, but then as my postdoctoral fellowship, that became really what your life is. And I started getting involved with cat breeders, first with the Bengal cat breeders, and then with Havana brown breeders, and then with Burmese breeders. And then it took off from there.
I saw that you were like associated with all these, cat breeders and everything. So
well, they all have something, So yeah, we generally do something. So they all have something, or they might have something fun: a curly coat, a crazy ear, a short tail, extra coat.
Yeah. So give me a quick prediction of what happens with your research in the next couple of years. So what are the next steps? Do you have any new things that are coming up that you can share?
Yeah. Well, what I hope happens is, one, that cat registries really use genetics as a mandatory thing to eradicate health problems in the breeds. Yeah. I hope that happens. Two, I expect precision medicine to be routine, that any veterinarian in any clinic is going to know that we can do this, and it'll be part of the standard healthcare of cats.
Yeah.
So I hope that's going to become routine. And then I think we're going to start solving some of the more difficult problems. And so the more difficult problems are things that really are more common and that we see in not only our breeds, but our random bred cats. So diabetes, susceptibility to cancers, inflammatory bowel disease leading to lymphoma, hyperthyroidism, cystitis, things that affect our normal everyday cat and every cat, no matter what breed it is. So I see us shifting from not cat breed stuff, but to every cat stuff. Right. And that's why I like the new name of the WIN Feline Foundation as the Every Cat Foundation, because yes, we want to do work on every cat.
Every cat. I love that. I really love that. So do you think that AI will be helpful for you, or is that something that is not important to you?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what would be helpful.
AI. Do you think AI, like
artificial intelligence, not artificial insemination? Well, we actually do use artificial insemination in cats, so we already use that.
That's not what I meant.
Yeah. Well, artificial intelligence, yes, from the point of view of data analysis, that's already being used. Using artificial intelligence to train our data sets, or use our data sets to train artificial intelligence, so that when we're looking at new data, we can do that more readily. There's less human involvement. But you still always want the human involvement. But can AI knock off some of the easy stuff that is mundane? So absolutely, that's so we are very parallel to what's going on in human medicine. Right. And so if it's occurring in human medicine, it's going to trickle down to what's going to happen in cat medicine too.
Very, very good. Okay, so one last question for you. As a cat lover, what is your guilty pleasure? What is it that you do with your cats, and what is it that you love to do with your
cats? I do experiments with my cats at home.
Okay.
And these experiments are generally which whipped cream do they like to eat the best, right? So I'll go and get all the different varieties of whipped cream, and I'll even hide them. I won't show them what the bottle looks like or the can looks like or anything. We're pretending we're doing a mass study, and I squirt it into different cups, and then I'll do this with cat food all the time. I'll do it with different toys, and so I like to do little case control studies with my cats to see what they enjoy the best. One blanket versus another,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure they enjoy that because oh, that's a new game.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Dr. Lyons, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, for being on the show and for being so generous with your time and information.
Oh, absolutely my pleasure, my pleasure. So yeah, don't forget to contact us at University of Missouri Feline Genome at missouri.edu or Lyons LA at missouri.edu. We answer all those emails. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And the cat silver test is now available. Everybody's been waiting for that.
Cat silver test, tell me about this.
So the silver test it's for the silver coat color in cats. And so we are using that test to help build up new data sets as well. So it costs $100 to do it, and people are, oh, that's a lot of money, but consider it your donation to science, because we're also collecting things like what's the eye color of your cat, coat color, tail types, and things. So can we start new studies on those other attributes that have never been worked on before?
Right.
And then yet also do more study on silver itself. So we know what the mutation is, but we don't know how it works. And so this will help provide funding to help us figure that type of thing out. So it's not going to be published anytime soon. The other companies are not going to be able to use it or run the test. Only our lab's going to use it, and we're going to hopefully use it to help bring in some funds into the lab to do other research as well.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stay cat crazy.